described what he has been alleging as lies against Jess Phillips. This morning, he said you should be in prison.
The Labour Party under Keir Starmer's leadership has turned into a circus, and the cracks are becoming harder to hide. Initially, he gave the impression of a unifier and reformist, but his period as the leader of the party has been marked by scandals and chaos. These new disclosures have only aggravated an already heated state of affairs for Starmer and the Labour Party. With new scandals, people are already asking if the party can recover or whether Starmer himself is a problem that is too much to solve.
I think it's Mubarak.
One of the things that is coming up over and over again is Islamophobia. And, well, you can see the stats, you can see the numbers rising, particularly since October the 7th. Although we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that before October the 7th, this was all heading in the right direction. It's been far too high for far too long. Clearly, we need to just say over and over again, Islamophobia is intolerable. It can never, ever be justified, and we have to continue with a zero tolerance approach. And I think there's more we can do in government. There's certainly stuff online which I think needs tackling much more robustly than it is at the moment.
What I'm hoping, Keir, is your experience as a prosecutor means you'll be thinking about the strategy we can use to make sure we take action against those who break the law.
Before we continue discussing this potential firestorm in British politics, we want to urge you to quickly like this video and stay till the end to get the full gist.
Disgraceful, disgusting. The Prime Minister labelling you, me, anybody who feels, who believes there should be an inquiry, a public inquiry into the Rochdale grooming gang scandal, into the entire grooming gang scandal, Pakistani men grooming young girls, mostly white working class, for their...
The problem Labour and Starmer are facing is more than a political stumble. It is a crisis that is existential for a party that was once upon a time vocal for the struggling working man. The Labour Party under the leadership of Starmer is bracing for one of the most threatening crises that can wipe out the party. Some say it is the biggest threat they have faced in nearly 2 decades. Massive exits, loss of public support, and leadership failings are also included in a growing list of problems Labour is now facing since Starmer took the helm of affairs.
Inquiry into that dreadful miscarriage of justice, because that's what it was. These guys were allowed to prosper in their nefarious activities because the police and the authorities were terrified of being called Islamophobic or racist if they arrested them.
The renewed interest in the Oldham grooming gang scandal has become a matter of particular focus on Starmer as the leader of the Labour Party. But the question is why? You'll be glad you found this video, because we are going to dive deep into this shocking turn of events. While Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, his position has been criticised, mostly for the lack of initiative to prosecute cases of systematic abuse. The Crown Prosecution Services, CPS, under his supervision was accused of a slew of misconduct, including cases of delay, dismissal of cases, and more to the point, a litany for the lack of accountability.
Maggie's story was told in a 2017 BBC drama called 3 Girls. This was of 3 girls who were one of the, they think, more than 1,000 victims. Young girls, groomed, drugged for sexual purposes by mostly Pakistani grooming gang men.
Recently, demands for a new investigation into child exploitation have resurfaced, recapping past missteps, which has brought to light again some of Starmer's activities. Some skeptics claim that these deficiencies are not simple administrative problems, but paralegal problems that neglect children's rights in society.
Russell, the reason that these kids were not protected was that coppers, social workers, the authorities generally decided they were council estate trash and they'd chosen this form of activity.
Besides the anger of the public, the voices of opinion leaders such as Elon Musk have added pressure on the government and labelled the scandal as one of the worst crimes against British society.
Choose your question carefully. There's 5 minutes left.
Okay, but so
is this the question you want to ask?
The same question is, you said that they are killing the company, but you're the head of the company. The buck doesn't stop with you?
I acquired X in order to preserve freedom of speech in America, the First Amendment. And I'm going to stick to that. And if that means making less money, so be it.
Labour's leadership seems under pressure and is trying to fight for itself while also trying to come up with ways of containing the backlash of these exposures.
Outraged, they were children. They were children. They were being raped. They were being sexually abused. They were being drugged. It's a disgrace. Now, Keir Starmer today, we'll play this in just a second. I think this is the most disgusting slur on the people of this country I've ever heard. He turned round. Now, I feel there should be an inquiry. I'm sure you feel, Russell, there should be an inquiry. Millions of right-thinking people, quite rightly, believe we need a public inquiry. I know we have too many of them, but this is important. These were kids, were not protected. They were abandoned to their atrocious fate by people who were too scared.
Starmer's leadership problems are not only on the outside. Within the Labour Party, the problems are mounting. More and more people are leaving the party. In Broxtowe, 20 Labour councillors, including the leader, have resigned from the party, accusing it of abandoning traditional values under the leadership of Prime Minister.
We will be trying to disassemble the elite of this country and to return local democracy and local services back to local people where it belongs.
The councillors, who have now formed a new party, Broxtowe Independents, are preparing to stand as candidates in the county elections in May. They criticised a range of policies, including cuts to the winter fuel allowance for some pensioners and the retention of the child benefit cap. In a joint statement, they said, "In Broxtowe, we urge the party to rethink the winter fuel allowance, which affected our residents. The response? To callously block 10 of our dedicated councillors as county council candidates for the local elections in May 2025. We will not stand by and let down the people of Broxtowe and defend the indefensible. We cannot just sit back in silence." Milan Radulovic, Indan, leader of Broxtowe BC, also criticised Labour's proposals for the reorganisation of local government, describing them as nothing short of a dictatorship. Each of these councillors has served over 10 years. But they made their stands clear about what they think of Starmer's leadership. Their decision and subsequent revelation of why they are leaving the party has echoed across the country and has vividly shown a much bigger self-identity problem within Labour. Other issues they pointed out, such as the elimination of winter fuel payment to pensioners, continuation of the 2-child benefit cap for minors' working families, and sex camps' reorganisation of local government, have angered the base. These policy decisions have left many people to think that Labour has shifted too far from its fundamental principles.
Still, 12 years on from that day, and we are still going round this same hamster wheel.
We need to see Keir Starmer stand up in the House of Commons and issue you a full and unreserved apology, don't we?
You know what, Bev? Empty words mean nothing to me. I want to see him put his actions where his mouth is. Blaming this problem on far-right extremists is actually dodging the issue. He was the director of public prosecutions when I resigned from Rochdale, and I resigned because the charges that were being levelled at the predators and the abusers of those men, I knew in detail. I knew what had happened to them because I've spoken to them all. Being threatened at gunpoint, being passed around a room like a ball, being raped on a daily basis. And he made the decision alongside.
This disillusionment among the public is also echoed by councillors and constituents, where anti-Starmer's sentiment has risen. And if you think this statement is mere wishful thinking, polls show that Starmer is the most unpopular Prime Minister in nearly half a century.
Well, if you believe there should be an inquiry into this tremendous, catastrophic injustice, according to Keir Starmer, your Prime Minister, you are far right. You are hitching your wagon to a far-right bandwagon.
The bottom line is that Labour has lost much of public trust under Starmer's leadership, and there are signs that this trend will continue. And economic challenges are going to make things worse for Labour.
Sort of to wrap up with then, part of obviously what we do is we create videos for on YouTube for a bit of a younger audience, but many of this in this demographic don't feel that optimistic or hopeful about the future. Do you think that there's a lack of hope and optimism in politics, and what do you think can be done to actually change this?
I think part of the role of the Labour Party is to restore hope in politics. And that's also why I spoke about security today, because from security comes hope. But we've had 13 years of chaos and insecurity and frankly decline. And I think the questions that people are going to be asking at the next election are pretty straightforward. Are me and my family better off after 13 years of Conservative government? Do our schools, our hospitals, our transport system, does that work better than when the Conservatives came into office 13 years ago? And frankly, does anything in Britain work better today when they came into office? I think the answers to those questions are no. People know it is time for change. And I hope now when people look at the Labour Party, they see a changed Labour Party.
Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves has overseen Labour stagnation and a future recession awaiting the country. Proposals for a 40 billion tax hike, along with an inflation rate of more than 3%, have led to questions about the party's economic management.
Breaking down the latest in tech and politics. Now, today we're looking into Elon Musk's recent comments about
Small businesses in particular are feeling the weight of Labour's missteps. Labour's policies, including Angel Rayner's Employment Rights Bill, are expected to cause businesses an additional financial burden of nearly $5 billion. So, small businesses are expected to lay off workers. 100,000 jobs are at risk because of this decision.
Thought they had, and then accelerated it so that those women didn't have the chance to prepare for that. We said we'll right that injustice, and within the 5 years of the Labour government we will compensate them for the money that they've lost. This is their money that they've had stolen off them, and it's completely unacceptable. And any government should act responsibly to these women who have looked after their children through that period. They're often looking after elderly relatives now, and they're a part of our society that have felt really unjust by the way they've been treated, and it's absolutely right that we deal with this issue.
Labour's internal and external problems show that the party faces a bleak future. The party is facing a combination of mass resignations, electoral losses and economic struggles, in addition to Starmer's unpopularity, has created a perfect storm. All these challenges suggest that Labour could lose as many as 200 seats if an election is held in Britain today, a devastating reversal from the recent electoral victory.
And everybody knows we have it with the United States of America, but Donald Trump has seen fit not to invite Sir Keir Starmer, no doubt because of his views on Donald Trump, no doubt because of David Lammy's sayings on Donald Trump, maybe indeed because of Sadiq Khan's protestations about what a horrible man Donald Trump is. You know, you can't mess around in politics and pretend that you're in a student union, because otherwise you end up being left on the outside of all of the good stuff that's going on. And next Monday, when Donald Trump is inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States of America, I consider it to be a massive stain on British history that our Prime Minister will not be there. Let's ask Tobias Ellwood what he makes of it. Tobias, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
It's pretty awful, is it not, that, you know, here we are, supposedly the friend of the United States, the special relationship that exists between the two countries, the long history of support for one another.
The danger for Labour is that the damage Starmer has done to the party's reputation may be too much to overcome. As a recent poll has shown, after only a few months in office, his approval ratings are lower than those of Margaret Thatcher at her lowest point, or Tony Blair during his decline.
My name is Keir Starmer. I'm the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and I want you to come to Britain. If your skin is brown and if you're a racist, we want you here. Enjoy our quaint English villages, our famous British hospitality, and consequence-free of little English girls.
That room, that flat, took my childhood from me. I think I was by around 150 men over the 3-year period.
In Glasgow, we met victim Tony Louise, who says she was abused from the age of 12.
When I went to the police, one of the police officers turned out to me and went, "You've got a very active imagination for a wee girl, haven't you?"
Getting support, trying to get support from local authority, from the police, that never happened.
This rapid decline is alarming. Most prime ministers experience a gradual drop in popularity, but Starmer's ratings have nosedived at a record-setting rate. Labour risked losing its parliamentary majority if things continue at this rate. What do you think of Starmer's leadership? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.